Hi, I'm Julia Hare, and I am here at Future Stores Miami, where the topic of conversation is all around the store. People are calling this a renaissance of the store.
A huge area of focus that's really important for us as retailers right now is technology that enables our staff to create better experiences for customers, create something meaningful that draws customers into the store versus just going and buying online.
I think sustainability is a key core of how we need to think about products, how we need to think about services, and how we need to think about the transparency that we give consumers around the sustainability of a product. And I would also say it's sustainability and traceability. I was talking to a CEO of a major furniture company about 2 weeks ago, and the example that he was given on sustainability is, they're buying great timber from Canada. They're then cutting it down, putting it on containers, shipping it to Asia, where it's then manufactured into furniture. Then they're shipping it all over the world or back to America to then be sold. And he's like, we're adding all these links in the supply chain. We're adding all this extra cost, all this extra carbon for what? And how do we think about sourcing ingredients from far more local so that we don't have the length in the supply chain that we have and find ways to innovate around those solutions and those processes.
In terms of events, what we usually do is we have 4 locations, and each location has an individual dedicated events team that is currently in charge of creating a programming offering tailored to that specific community 4 times a week. So anything from, sampling a brand product, getting into one of our bars and testing different elixirs that we would have or the different wellness products that we would have, all the way to, a Saturday yoga class where people can actually, have a full-on class and then engage with one of our acupressure brands by getting a treatment after. We kind of have a different way of activating our locations beyond just, being a retail location, and events is a huge part of our strategy.
I really do believe that people need to adopt the Renaissance marketer mindset, which is something that I've developed to help marketers really talk about the value that they bring to the table. In particular, as we know, marketing is one of the top drivers of growth. How do you ensure that your business leaders, your finance partners all understand that? So I want to make sure that as people are building more of that marketing and that value, that they're really thinking about adopting the Renaissance marketer mindset.
Generative AI is basically an iteration of original search in many ways, right? So you go to Google and you get a bunch of links, and then it's up to you to decode what those links ultimately mean. But the thing about generative AI is it actually gives you a story to tell. And that, to me, is not revolutionary, it's evolutionary, and it's important.
Everyone talks about empowering frontline teams, right? And that they're the best ambassadors of the brand, or they can be. But I still think that there's a ton of opportunity to really engage them, to amplify the power and the authenticity of truly the human experience, right? This stickiness and this relationship and connection that I think that only people can bring. And how do you take a person and also enable them to aggregate a lot of the sentiment that's coming up from customers, so that as a business, you have these tens of thousands of feet on the street that's informing your business decisions every day.
Hi, I'm Natalie Arana, the Director of Brand Marketing and Communications at RETHINK Retail. I was on stage moderating. I had a panel with a retail executive from Harry's and a retail executive from Sleep Country. It was really interesting to talk to them about innovative store design trends because they're so different. Sleep Country has their own stores. They can control what the experience is like for their consumers, and they are well known throughout Canada. And then when I talked to the executive from Harry's, he told me about the challenges and opportunities of being a CPG company that is trying to compete in a very crowded space, which is the in-store aisle. So making sure that their designs, their in-store displays are really differentiating them from their competitors. I love seeing the top retail influencers at these events. It was great to reconnect. Also welcoming new members into the Global Retail Leader community. It is great to hear them on stage and then get the conversations that are behind the scenes, whatever they weren't able to say to the audience, and then welcoming them into our communities to continue the conversations online and in person.
So I come back because I find the content really relevant. It's not NRF, it's not CES. I think that's the magic about it. I think there's really the ability to connect with people who are going through a lot of the same problems that I am, and really just having frank conversation.
I think the biggest opportunity for retailers to connect with shoppers now is thinking about meeting them where they are, right? Whether that's in the physical store, on mobile, on a website at home, and figuring out how to make that purchase journey a little bit more seamless, a little bit more natural, and especially starting to think about Gen Z as they're engaging with commerce and wanting to do things like shoppable video or using social to make their purchases, and really, again, being where the shopper is.
So in the past, we've had some great speakers and attendees who we're so thrilled to be a part of our community, from Nordstrom, Macy's, Starbucks, Best Buy, Lowe's, Reformation. We run a wide variety of retail events. We run our e-commerce events you've probably heard of, which are called e-tail. There's a series of events, a couple in the United States, one in Canada, and we have one in the UK.
I spoke today about how you could leverage on pop-up stores within retail strategy, which means it's a symbiotic relationship for both the larger retailers and smaller businesses to come in and test the markets in different geographic areas and see how they could sustain that business or scale them across the board in that particular geographic area or beyond that. So I would again say it's a symbiotic relationship that every retailer should try and see where they can go from there.
Me coming here, I wanted to see futuristically what's happening, where those paths are going, and what some of those omni-channel decisions are being made, so we can be prepared for the installation task at brick and mortar, which kind of bridges the gap of omni-channel.
This is my first time, yeah. I actually really like it. I've been to other shows, and what I like about this show is it feels intimate and it feels very collegial, which is interesting versus like very kind of transactional and like herding cat throughout a space. This feels like building relationships, building connections, because it's a little bit more intimate than some of the larger shows.